Welcome back to Canter Therapy. I'm Shelley, and in this episode 101, mind you, I'm joined by Ian Leighton for his third appearance on the podcast, which means he's either a great human and very generous with his time, or we still haven't managed to scare him off. In this episode, we cover big things, like nothing we do with a horse is natural, not one thing, and what that actually means for how we train. We talk about riding out of trouble, why you can only change one thing at a time, how to avoid accidentally training the exact problem you're trying to solve. It's logical, it's grounded, it's occasionally uncomfortable. In other words, it's genuinely useful. Before we dive in, a quick word from our show sponsors, which in a bold display of entrepreneurial self-reliance is us. Canter Therapy is proudly sponsored by my work in calm, willing, confident horses, including my clinics, courses, my books, my society membership, and by Kat Christensen, hoof care practitioner and educator who is quietly preventing more horse problems than most of the internet combined through her hoof care clinics and education resources. You'll find both our links to our businesses in the show notes. And if you enjoy conversations that bring thoughtful experts and grounded ideas to your attention, please make sure you hit follow or subscribe on your podcast platform. It helps us grow, reach more horse people, and continue having proper discussions that help people find a path through the minefield of confusion and conflicting advice out there. And if you'd like to support the podcast, we've got Canter Therapy merchandise. That's right. Head over to cantertherapy.com.au and you can now wear your support for the podcast. And trust me, every time I wear my Canter Therapy t-shirt or hoodie, someone asks me where I got it. It's pretty cool. All right, let's get into it. Here's Ian. Good evening, Ian.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. So welcome everyone to our latest episode of Canter Therapy, and I'm very stoked to have Ian Leighton, one of the best horsemen in Australia, here talking to us again. You've been on our podcast. This will be your third time, Ian, and your podcast rate super high. I think you sit in number 2 and 3 positions. So welcome.
It amazes me. Yeah, I'm always a bit stoked to hear that because it's not what I would have expected.
No,
I fly under the radar a little bit. We
You-
don't do a lot of advertising, and
You do, but what I love about you, and I tell it to you all the time, right? I tell it to you all the time, is to say, well, first of all, I love talking to you because you're so full of good wisdom, but I love the way I love following you on social media because I love your posts. Now, I write a post and the shortest I can get it is like a couple of paragraphs, and that nearly kills me. And then I always look at your posts and you in like 8 sentences are able to just nail it beautifully and say super wisdom. And what that says to me is that a person that can write so concise and succinctly knows their stuff. Absolutely knows their stuff. So that's what I just really respect. And I do know you know your stuff. You've got a lot of experience under your belt and a hell of a lot of wisdom. So I'm so grateful you're back talking to me so I can mine you for some more good ideas.
yeah, well, when I write, there's a few things that help me with that, and one is that I'm terrible at typing, so that helps me keep things short.
Yeah.
And I've generally got a fairly blunt message to get across. And if I can do that diplomatically, then I've got it nailed,
I think
I
you
think
do a
a
good
part of
job.
diplomacy is making it hard, making stuff so logical that it's hard to argue with.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
that's very true.
and I try for that as well.
I have to say, can I just tell you what my favorite one is? Because I even know them. I even remember what you write. And I just remember you said this, you posted this a little while back. And it was such a logical thing. You said, like, there is nothing we do with a horse that is natural. Not one thing. Nothing. Nothing we do with a horse is natural. And therefore, the horse has to be shown or helped to be able to know how to do that natural thing. They're not prepared naturally or how they've evolved to actually do anything we ask them to do, be by themselves, get rugged, you name it.
They're pretty much wired to do exactly the opposite to what we want.
Yeah.
So in the wild, if something traps a horse's leg, the horse is going to kick and pull and and fight, and we want to pick their legs up, put shoes on them, and
Yeah.
they're really averse to small, tight spaces. They don't run into a cave when they've got a pack of wolves after them. They
That's
try
right.
to get out the open country and outrun everything, and we want to put them in a horse float.
Yeah.
And just about everything we want a horse to do is exactly the opposite of what they've evolved to do.
Yeah.
And I think people don't consider it like that when they've got young horses. They don't put enough work into actually creating habits that are the opposite of what we want.
Yeah.
A lot of people just expect the horse to pick it up as they go along, and sometimes they get lucky. There are horses out there that make us all feel like the world's best horse trainer.
Mm.
And then there are others that make us feel like we're lacking a little bit. That happens to everybody.
Yeah.
I know I worked with someone quite famous come to watch me work with a young colt one day, halter breaking. And it was probably the toughest one I've done in a huge amount of time,
Oh, really?
And it didn't look good and it didn't look easy. And I did another one on that day, and you'd hardly know I did it because it was so easy.
Yeah.
And no one was there the next day when all the hard work had sort of paid off, and I managed to evolve the horse a little bit, or move the horse along a little bit, and things changed. But that situation is going to happen to everybody, no matter who they are. You'll find you get a sticky, tough horse to deal with, and it might be you need to change your approach a little bit, but it happens to everybody. Anyone that says it doesn't is either not worked enough, or they're telling a fib.
Yeah, no. One of the greatest lesson I got from my mentor, he sat me down when I started getting good and cocky. He just said, don't you dare. He goes, you must always be humble with a horse, because as soon as you think that you've got it, the horse gods are going to come down and humble your ass, and it's going to be in front of a whole lot of people.
Yeah, that's
Or you're going to
always
get
the way.
really hurt. So, I'm always remembering that. In fact, at every clinic, I'm saying it constantly. You're asking, like, you always got to be humble, guys. I'm going to ask this. This is what I expect, but this might be a gift from the horse gods, which are going to humble my ass in front of all of you.
I work in front of people all the time, and have done for a long, long time, and I managed to get a bit of stuff done, and the horses I'm working with generally are the ones that I work with at a clinic or somewhere, the ones that need it. And I managed to get stuff done in front of people, but the best work I ever do, nobody ever sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, it just, you'll be in a moment somewhere with a horse and you'll be thinking, that was just fabulous, and it'll be when nobody's about. So,
hey, can I ask you something? Because I actually think it's a and I'm not being unhumble when I say that, but it is an absolute art to educate and entertain people whilst working a horse at the same time. Like when you're trying to train a horse and teach people and talking all the time. Because I think I love it when I'm just by myself and I'm able to just, as you said, doing beautiful work all by myself. And I always think it's because I can just fully focus on the horse, not questions coming from here and there, or having to explain what I do to try to get my thinking out so I can mentor how I'm thinking, I'm working through it, or what's happening, kind of doing a bit of commentary along the way. Like that's tricky. And I really think it's that silence you get at home that just allows you to have 100% on the horse. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it gets easier. The more times you work with people and horses in a group, I can manage. I've got film of me riding a horse bucking across the arena, and I'm explaining what I'm doing as we go along.
Yeah.
And it gets easier to do that with practice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
But
agree with
it's, I'm not the fastest talker out there as it is. And um, so, I just explain what's going on and what I'm doing. And
yeah.
I find it easier to actually talk about horses when I'm doing something with a horse
Yes. Yeah.
than without it. So that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah, definitely.
Explaining something when you've actually got the horse there is quite a bit easier because you can demonstrate too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So there's two sides to that,
Yeah.
um, and they can both go wrong.
That's true. Also, the art of teaching someone at the same time when they're doing
Yep.
it. And I don't know about you. I got to ask you. So when I'm like the person's working the horse, we're at a clinic situation, I literally feel it's like I've got all this like superpower that's going towards the horse, going, come on, horse, stick with it, stay with me, focus on your human, you're going to be all right. It's like there's this silent conversation I'm having with that horse at the same time, and then having the same one with the human to try to get some harmony happening in between the two.
Yeah, I find the horse stuff I can do without thinking about it. With humans, I've improved a lot over the years, but what I had to learn with humans was you can't just do something and then watch
Yeah.
and just get it.
Hmm.
You have to break it down, and you do with horses too.
Yeah.
You sort of expect that with horses, but with humans, you have to break things down and make them simple and easy. And, um, and the other thing, there's a little bit of a fear factor in there with people as well,
Yeah.
which you have to work with as well. So, sometimes you're encouraging a young horse to give you just an inch or two more of what you're asking for, so that you're progressing. And people are like that too. You can't just throw them off the deep end and say, suck it up, have a go.
Yeah.
You'd probably get away with that with a bunch of blokes.
Yeah.
I get guys at my clinics, but, on a whole, it's mostly women that come to clinics. And that's different too. They're a different sort of demographic. I think men have evolved to work together and pick up on what someone else is doing just by watching, and they seem to get things a little clearer like that.
Yeah. I was actually
And
going to
that's
ask
not me
you.
being sexist. It's
No,
just what it is.
no,
I know you're a fan of me saying just what it is,
I like that.
but but if there's a bit of a fear factor in there, you can't just toss people off the deep end. You've got to do what you would do with a horse, which is just inch them forward a little bit at a time and not overface them, to use a horse term.
Exactly. Well, it is. It's the same to me when with the human. Like you got to, if you got to apply the same kind of approach to people as you do with horses. You don't chuck the horse off the deep end. You
No,
kind of got to break it down, repeat it. It's the same thing. You're actually using the same thoughtfulness towards a human that there is a horse. But I was going to ask you that because I do enjoy the differences of working with men and
yeah,
working with women. And not that it's clear cut at all, but there are
no.
some kind of gender differences. And I'd love to hear what you had to say because I find it fascinating. I really get tickled by it because it's kind of like really interesting, coaching both. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Guys on a whole like to be not exposed so much in front of everybody.
Mm,
So, you find this stuff out just by starting out really easy and giving people the opportunity to, I'll explain a bit of stuff, and a lot of guys just want to do it and work it out for themselves a little bit.
yeah.
And then some people want step by step
Yeah.
Information and actual coaching through every little thing.
Mm.
But a lot of guys I find would rather just go over to the back of the arena or somewhere and nut it out for themselves a little
Yeah,
bit.
they want to watch,
Yeah.
and then they'll go tinker away with it over there.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
that's how I
yeah.
work most things out.
Yeah, I always find the other thing about when I coach men is, and it's always like I've always got to that's why it entertains me, because I've got to reset myself.
Yeah.
Is because you tell them and they do it.
Yeah.
With women, there's more negotiation involved.
Yep.
Like you gotta cover a few bases beforehand. Whereas men, it's almost like I've got to, when I switch myself over, it's like, whoa, I have to like just change the way I say it, because they'll just go bang and just go and
Yeah.
do it. And I've got to like, whoa, okay, because I'm waiting for that kind of little bit more of a slower approach, a little bit more whatever, and bang, they'll go in, and I'll have to pull them back.
Yeah.
Whereas so I always find that it's almost like men just thinking these straight, you do it, bang, straight line, do it. And
Yeah.
with women, I'm not saying all of them are like that at all, but I'm not saying this is the very generalized or whatever, but we got to meander down a little bit of a track to actually get there. Talk about a few, and it goes from genders anyway, like they just, like women are more wired to care about relationships and see the
Yes.
multiple things going on. And to be fair, you got to cover that. And whereas
Yeah.
men are these straight line thinkers.
It's interesting though. I've worked with a couple of Olympic athletes, that were Olympic athletes, and they're into horses now,
Yeah.
and they are very easy to teach
Yes.
because,
I agree.
and they've got that. They just do what you say.
Yeah.
And and you're not messing around trying to teach them timing, and they take stuff in. But
Yes.
and I think part of that is probably that they're a bit gifted anyway, and that's why they were athletes at that level.
Yeah.
But also a lifetime of learning to be coached.
Yes.
And
Coachable.
how to take stuff in, and how to retain it enough, and how to do 6 things at once.
Yeah.
And then often I'll be working with someone at a clinic, and I'll do a demonstration, and then I'll get people just to try and do the thing, and I'll be working with someone, and one of the spectators will say to me, "Oh, that lady's not doing this and this and this." And I'll say, "No, she's not, but she is doing this."
Yeah.
And I can only fix up one thing at a time. If I tell her to fix this, and this, she's not going to retain it. So if I pick out the most important thing that she needs to change and just work on that, and we'll get to. And that's another thing that people don't get when they're training horses.
Yeah.
That you can really only change one thing at a time. And, and if something's not working out, say you got a horse that's a bit bracy and you want to teach it to do shoulder in or something, no, I'll get on them and I'll change my seat and open the rein and, and sort of set a puzzle for that horse.
Yeah.
So that he'll try and find his way out of it. And if I get one step of softness through that, I'll just let them go,
Yeah.
And within 5 minutes, they'll be doing perfect shoulder in.
Yeah. Because you're not.
But if I try and make that shoulder in perfect straight off the bat, rather than just reward a little bit of softness that comes, I'll fight with them all day, and not, trying to avoid that. I don't like being in fights.
Yeah. It's that whole thing of setting either a horse or a human up to get a bit of clarity, just focusing on one thing, allowing refinement of that, making it small, making that good. And once you get that one little piece a little bit shiny, going, it's so much easier to grow than just having this blurry mess of conflict and kerfuffle that a lot of horses live through.
And that's why learning off a book or a video is really hard, because you get out in the arena and you go, "Oh, the guy said I've got to do this and this and this and this to get that exercise right." And they're trying to get all those things to happen at once.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and
That reminds me of another good story of wise mentor. I remember I was working this horse, and the horse was just being, I'm gonna use my words from back then. I wouldn't use it now, but it was like just being dramatic. Just wouldn't let go. Everything was full of angst and throwing themselves around and stuff like that.
yeah,
And I said some disparaging comment about this mare being just so dramatic. And my mentor just come back and goes, "Look at you. You want perfect sand. You want perfect circle. You want a perfect transition. You want a perfect
yeah,
shape." And he went, "Pressure, pressure, pressure, pressure,
yeah,
pressure. What do you think she's doing?" And it was like, whoa. And as soon as I just brought it down and just focused on one thing,
yeah.
didn't worry about it was messy, let the rest be messy. And then bang, she was like, it was a good lesson.
Yeah,
Pressure,
it comes
pressure,
down
pressure.
to even teaching young horse to steer.
Yeah, yeah.
When a horse doesn't want to steer, it does one of two things.
Mm,
It either leans on the bit and pushes towards wherever it wants to be that's not where you want to go,
yep.
or it slows its feet down and says, "I'm not going there."
Yeah.
So in those cases, to fix that, I don't even work on steering. If
Yeah.
my horse leans on the bit, and I'll stop and back up.
Yeah. Well, that's what it means,
And my
isn't it?
horse will get soft and he'll say, "Oh, every time I go to not want to steer that way, I lean on the bit," and he backs me up. And they learn it in 5 goes, So
Mm,
then they try and slow their feet down and they say, "Oh, we'll see what happens if I just don't go anywhere."
yeah.
And I'll let the heads go. I'll forget I was steering anywhere and hurry them up to a trot or a canter, depending on where the horse is at. You slow your
Yeah.
feet, and I'll be on it the second I feel like sleep the feet slow.
Yeah.
And then I've taken away the 2 things that horse uses not to steer, and they steer perfectly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I haven't even worked on steering. So, there's people, and that's looking at it from a logical point of view. How do I fix my steering? I could put my spurs on and kick my horse around the corner, and I could maybe do that for the rest of the horse's life. Or I could fix the things that are creating that issue
Mm,
and get perfect steering, but also improve my horse for anything I do that's maybe lateral or anything where they might lean or stiffen or slow their feet or,
yeah.
and you end up with a horse that's so light and free underneath you because it's their idea to keep going and it's their idea not to brace,
Mm,
rather than just out muscle them. And
yeah.
that's important stuff, I think.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's a good segue to this question I'm going to ask you, right?
Okay.
All right. Because I
If
have
I
heard,
got
and
on a Segway, by the way, I'd probably break my leg. But yeah.
it's like, a good lead in to this question that I've been dying to ask you. Because it's a real common one, because it's one of those common "it depends" question. And of course, people want the black and white answer or the least the flow chart about what to do. And I was actually creating the flow chart the other day. And it was all about, the people going like, they're out in the bush, getting a horse good out in the trails, and they're worried about something. Okay, so they can be worried about something that's there, and you got to get them past it, or they might not want to walk over the puddle, right,
Yep.
or the funny coloured bit of ground. Could be
Yep.
anything. So, like, how do you handle that? That's what they say. And I know you've got this saying, and tell me whether I'm wrong, but I think one of your saying, another one's in my head. I might have it wrong though. You can confirm it. Is you ride out of trouble? Am I right?
Yeah,
Is that one of your
absolutely.
sayings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was right. Okay, remember that right. Okay, and I love that. And when I was doing my flow chart, right, I was actually thinking, I was like, how would Ian say this in his classic 8 his 8 sentences of being able to make it really clear.
Yeah.
So, because I'll just give a bit of backstory like that. I got a really super client that's super dedicated, and she's pretty good. Like, she's made a couple of good trail horses now, but she really
Yep.
does. What she really asks me about is like, how do you handle everything? One of those things, like, as I said, it depends. Sometimes you just got to ignore something right forward. Sometimes you might have to make a bit of an issue out of it. But it does depend. And she's trying to work out the list of the depends. And she gave me one of these examples. She said, because I did this on the weekend and I wish I didn't do it. And when she told me about it, it was like, that was something that you shouldn't have worried about. The horse wouldn't walk on some little bit of a different coloured ground. So she made a big deal about it and kind of got the horse working until it would goddamn stand on that bit of ground. And then she was like, oh, that was probably not the best thing to do. And I was like, you just made an unnecessary issue out of that. But what she was trying to work out, and I think it's a good question. I get asked a lot. So Ian, take it away. What's your advice?
All right. So there's a few things involved in that. I'm more of a, some people take the easy boy approach and they'll rub their horse and try and settle it down. And that's like rewarding the horse for not going or for saying, I don't want to go there. So that works on the movies, but in real life, you're actually training your horse not to go where you want it to go. And then you have the people that work a butt off a horse when it's not where they want to go.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that either. I don't like using work as a punishment.
Yeah.
I'm painting the house at the moment, and it reminds me of Tom Sawyer having to paint the fence for punishment. Don't tell Liz I said that. But I'm actually enjoying it now. I'm into it. But to get back to the question, so, and that's become a popular, this is the psychological way we can convince our horse that it's better off over there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to it than that. And one is your seat. So if I sit in a way that allows my horse to prop or suck back, because I'm a little bit worried, and then I try and put pressure on my horse, it just sort of blows up. That's something that people don't learn enough about. Your seat is just as important out on a trail ride as it is in a dressage arena, probably more so because you've got to get somewhere or you've got to get home safely. So I can put an awful lot of, I can make my horse feel like he needs to go forward just by keeping my pockets under me and keeping the front of my legs open a little bit, and then maybe, just tap on the bum with a split rein and they'll try, and rather than run backwards, they'll start to take forward steps.
Yeah.
And then I can sort of release and give them a scratch. And, so learning to do that, I think, is a bit of an art. But I think everyone should learn to do it.
Can I just ask you, though?
And I don't blow the horses up. I don't end up with a sweaty, tired horse.
Yeah.
It's going to be sour next time I ride it out too.
I think what you just described there was beautiful, because what I try to get people to focus on is that it's all about continuing down the track. You got to open that door up. It's like to get past to keep going forward through. So really open that. And that's where all your intention and focus and seat and everything has to be. And even though it might get a bit messy, it's still to go in that direction. That's your main, well, for me anyway, from what I interpret you just said, it's just like going forward past continuing on. Simple. Instead of trying to block here, block there, lock them here, lock them there, put them here, put them there.
Like if you want a horse to be upset, put it in a situation where it's worried and then make it feel trapped.
Yeah.
The legs and the reins and the, and they'll blow up 5 times worse than they probably would if you were just sitting there. The other thing I tend to do it depends. Like if that horse has been across there before, then I'll encourage him and say, look, buddy, it's not a multiple choice question. Let's go. And maybe a tap on the bum with a split rein or something. And maintain that seat, and you go, oh, okay, I better get across there.
Mm.
But if it's a youngster and he's worried and he's never been across there before and it's something new, I might try and take a line where I go a little bit past where I want to go without trying to get the whole 9 yards,
Yeah.
and then I might turn around and come back
Mm-hmm.
and go past it on the other side, and then, and just get that little bit closer. And I might, if he'll move towards where I want to be, then I might then give him that rub and say, good boy, There's a lot to be said. Like people say, oh, you don't use positive reinforcement. Well, I do. If I stop bumping you with my legs and I give you a nice scratch on the neck, so me not bumping you to my legs might be negative reinforcement if you really wanted to nail it down to science, but the scratch on the neck is positive reinforcement.
But
and
just the fact there's a bit of harmony re-established or a bit of peace, that peace is, there's a whole argument about that negative and positive reinforcement that you can actually also argue it's the opposite.
Yeah.
So just say even with positive reinforcement, the classic one is giving a treat. Well, what if you're hungry?
Yeah.
Isn't that negative reinforcement then?
Well, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And if being left alone, if that's your jam, well, that's a reward, isn't it? So there is actually an argument.
When I get people that are really pushy about that, and they say, oh, it should be all positive reinforcement. And the first thing I ask them is, do you have electric fences at home?
Yeah.
And it blows their argument out of the water, and then they go, oh, yes, but that's for safety. I need the horse to definitely not touch the fence. Well, I like to ride horses that don't say no.
Yeah.
And if I can get horses that are in an argument are not happy.
No.
Horses that are saying no are not happy.
Yeah.
I can get on my horse and ride him all day without picking up on him, without even putting a leg on him, and have a really nice ride.
Yeah.
And he's happy and I'm happy because we're not in an argument, and I ask for things with my balance. And so, if I want to go right, I sit in a way that makes him feel like going right, and I let him go right. So he's getting what he wants and I'm getting what I want. And that's a win-win situation,
That's right. Well, that's the art of good training, isn't it? You're setting the horse up to you're setting them up.
If we both get what we want, that works out really, really well.
Yeah. No, I have. Look, that crowd, the positive reinforcement. Look, I've learned positive reinforcement. It's a handy tool in my toolbox. I just see it all as tools of influence. The more tools of influence I have, the best. But, people get stuck in this dichotomy that you can only treat with pressure or reward. And it's like, we're in the job of influence. Yeah. I can influence a horse just where I choose to work it. Yes. I can choose from the direction I point it. Yes. I can pick the time of day I work it, whether it's before feeding it. I have so much more influence. There's so much more complexity to it. There's so much more art to it than just having black and white paint.
Yeah, and it's not like that. And, at the end of the day, my horses, I want them to feel like they're my legs. When I go, I want to go somewhere and I'm going along and I'm going to turn right, I don't say to my leg, all right, we're going to turn right now, leg, and then give it a cue to turn right. I just want to think I'm going right and maybe just roll onto my left butt cheek a touch and go right. Yep. And I don't even want to think about me doing it, let alone the horse doing it.
Yeah,
and that relationship, I've got nothing against positive reinforcement. If I was teaching tricks, I would use it. But I want much more than that. I want that relationship where we're just going together and, and there's no argument between us, and I'm being okay with him and he's being okay with me. And he knows his job well enough that I can be focused on whatever job I've got to do. It might be getting cattle, it might be looking after other riders or teaching people, that I don't have to think about my horse, and I don't have to. So riding for me is not a bunch of commands with responses.
Yeah. It's a continuous flow.
It's more like, when you've been driving a car for a few years, you don't really think about what you're doing with the accelerator and the clutch. And well, nowadays people would know what a clutch was, but but it becomes a thing that you just do, and the car responds in the way it's meant to respond. That's how I want my horses to feel, and it's not a command and a trick or a command and a response. So the positive reinforcement thing, they're missing all that out. That, because it's designed that you give the horse a treat for a response that you've asked for. And, so there's, I've seen horses that get quite pissed and go through a bunch of tricks trying to get a treat when they should be just standing there asleep. Well, my horse is standing there asleep. And I don't mind them being asleep when they're hanging out with me, because they can wake up really quickly, horses.
Yeah.
So if I'm standing there just talking, they get a nap, that's fine. At least they're not causing any trouble. But you rarely see that in horses that have been taught with all positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
The treat type. And as I said, I got nothing against it. If I was going to train trick horses where I wanted them to do things off a command, then I'd be fine with it, And we used to teach horses stuff when I was a kid, how to bow and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't really scientific. It just worked. But, I'm sort of looking for a deeper thing than that with my horses.
Yeah, it was interesting because they do string things along so the horse will learn a series of things. But what I found is, because I can tell you it's freaking tricky. It requires, like, every horse you got to adjust, because the treat that you use is kind of like the pressure adjustment, and you've got to, each horse, if like carrots and licorice and sugar and things like that are like hardcore, drive you nuts, do horses' heads in level of pressure. And then you got to go from like bits of, hay cubes to pellets to, always got to judge you always got to, you just don't have control of the pressure like you do with pressure training, that you can instantly adjust. It's like you got to go and get this thing, and then you got to whatever, and then you got to get in this window, because as they get less hungry or more hungry or whatever, it changes again. It's actually really complicated. But what probably just going to upset all the positive reinforcement trainers here, but I didn't like about it, when I produce a horse just with pressure, there's just this, it's like the horse is following me from the inside, and it's like they're on the telephone line.
Yep.
And just when I train with positive reinforcement, I always just found it externalized. Like, instead of the horse following me from in here, it was always just following something from the outside. It never got in here. Now, that might have been that, and I'm sure I've met some pretty damn good trainers of that regard with horses. But yeah, I just couldn't really crack that. And I get a beautiful response with pressure. And so that's my ultimate. I do have it in my back pocket because it's good for when things, just say I got a horse that's really bad with needles.
Yeah.
And pull that out for that, or that they've had a bad experience doing something. It's very good for what's called counter conditioning, giving something and a few other bits and pieces, but I also, I'm going to tell you something else that really makes me cranky about people that get up on the positive reinforcement bandwagon, is that they sell this as that this is what science has proven is the most welfare thing, it's the best thing or whatever. And I'm like, Man, what research have you been reading? Because it's just like, that's not what the research says at all about how things learn best, or, you can look at under one, a number of things. So it's like with humans or whatever, we
Yeah.
actually really flourish and really good things happen to us with struggle when struggle's involved.
Yeah.
And so it's not just cut and dry that just because you don't upset anything and give them a reward, that's actually a myth. That's a complete myth. And it's the same thing when it comes to horses. So there we go. I just will probably get a whole email full of hate mail for that, but I don't mind saying it.
Don't give my email address. I'm really beastly careless about it. I stopped being worried about what other people do a long time ago.
Yeah, that's a good
So I
one.
just do my own thing and allow those people to do what they want to do. And if it works out for them, well, good luck to them. And,
Yep.
but I have ideas about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think not being able to discuss stuff is half of what's wrong with our world at the moment. I think,
Yeah.
I don't really want to get into politics, but man, we've got some stuff going on at the moment. And, that you can't make things taboo to discuss because they're never going to improve, if you can't talk about it, or
No. And
never going to find a better way of getting along if we're just there saying, well, your idea is crap and my idea is the best. And I've never seen anyone change much like that either.
But if you just shut those people down and say, no, you can't say that, that's terrible, you can't say that, or we've got to stop it altogether, or whatever way, you're stopping the conversation, which is actually not solving the problem.
Not at all. You can talk about stuff without being hateful.
That's right.
And you can, if you can be a bit diplomatic, you can put ideas across without being hateful.
Absolutely.
And honestly, too, I think social media, it's a great tool if you've got a business and you want to promote stuff, or just be connected with people and family. And but it's given a voice to a lot of people who were pretty insignificant once, and including me and you, and unless you're in politics, you were fairly insignificant unless you stood up and had the guts to join the argument.
Yep.
At that level.
Yep.
But now everybody has the ability to have their say and be how they want to be.
Yeah.
Regardless and without any consequence whatsoever.
That's right. You can hide behind a keyboard.
Yeah, and you don't have to look someone in the eye and say, well, this is what I think. And there's a real art to being like, I think a lot of manners are going out of the world because of it too, because people used to be able to debate and have discussion and come out the other end of it and go and have a beer and not hate each other.
Yeah, yeah.
But now we're sort of being pushed into having to take sides.
Yeah, and that's
if you
wrong.
take a side, that's it. You can't, and I'm a fence sitter on a lot of things. Like there are plenty the one side of politics does that I don't like, and there's plenty the other side that I don't like. Yeah. And I'm not huge on extremism.
Yeah.
Whether it's in politics or in the horse world.
Yeah.
From either end of whatever spectrum you're looking at. There's always a pretty comfortable place in the middle.
Yeah. I learned about a thing just recently. I watched a documentary, and I did kind of know about this, but I didn't know the extent of it. Holy moly. Do you know there's actual troll farms?
Yeah.
There's
I did hear, I read something.
Organizations deliberately to go in and actually basically take down a country by causing division.
Yep.
And it's actually, wow.
And they're being employed not by mum and dads on Facebook that have been employed by governments, and that's the frightening thing about that.
Yeah, you don't have to have an army with
No,
guns anymore or bombs.
no,
You have people behind a keyboard that can make citizens of a country hate each other.
yeah.
And so you tear it down from the inside. And it's
And
like,
I think
wow.
part of being a grown-up, if you like, is understanding that that exists and not letting it be effective,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yep.
it's no different than not fighting with a horse.
That's correct.
I can get what I want from a horse without getting in an argument with it
Yeah,
and without relenting.
that's right.
We've got to understand our ground without being too angry, and it's okay to have an idea on where things should be, but I've never seen anyone change their mind because someone screamed at them or insulted them.
That's right. Same with a horse. They're
Yeah.
not going to trust you or like you or learn well if you're just being brutal,
Yeah.
trying to make them do it. And that makes them not want to do it even more.
Well, instead of not wanting to go in that part of the arena, they don't want to go in the whole arena the next time.
Yeah, well, this is what I say to them. Oh my God, that's such a common thing. I'm going to tell you this. You can give me your 2 cents worth of it, right? You got the horse that won't go near the scary end. There's a scary corner of the arena the horse won't go in. And the person's all perplexed because they get out and they walk their horse and their horse will lead past it, no problem.
Yeah.
But as soon as they get on it, the horse doesn't want to go in that area and they're fixated about what the horse is worried about. They're going like, I knew one lady, this is so funny and good on her. She went and cut down every tree at the back of her arena, like completely got rid of everything. Horse was still spooky there because I said, you don't understand. It's just like, you don't really 100% know what the horse might be triggered by or what association they've stuck on something.
Yeah.
But it's like they work out that when they go near that corner, you attack them. Like you're prone to attacking them. It's got nothing to do
or you're
with the
just
area.
make them uncomfortable by being too tight. And
Yeah. It's what you're making them feel by
well, you
being in
find
that
that a lot of
zone.
people say to me, "Oh, my horse is horse shy. It doesn't
Yes.
like to go near other horses."
Yeah.
You watch the rider, and 9 times out of 10, every time they get near another horse, that rider gets tense and holds onto their horse's face and makes the horse uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Every time they go near another horse, so they've actually trained their horse not to go near other horses.
Yeah, because they get attacked.
And that goes away from the horse that it doesn't want to go near, and it gets a release.
Yep.
So that, inadvertently train their horse not to like other horses. And the problem is, I have seen it be the horse's issue, but I've seen a lot more times a rider issue.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ian, I got one last question for you that I think would be a good discussion to go. All right, you work with a lot of people, you go to a lot of clinics. What are the major causes that you're seeing these days of people getting stuck or losing their motivation or getting frustrated with a horse?
Gee, that's a big one.
Now, you can have a few. You can list them.
Yeah.
But I know you're going to give this great, concise response.
Okay. I've got to say something about ego.
Yeah, Butte.
Now, while I'm on that subject, see, everything I say leads to something else.
All right, good.
To do what we do, like I've had people accuse me, it's just ego making you do the XX. There's a pretty fine line between ego and self-confidence. And you can't go out and work in front of a bunch of people and get results and help people and without being self-confident.
Yeah.
And that's often mistaken for ego.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have a pretty good opinion of yourself to have the confidence to do some stuff. So I think people need to let that go a little bit. And the other thing is you've got to have enough confidence in yourself to fail in front of other people. So this is getting
Oh,
back
yeah.
to your question.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't allow themselves to be seen not doing well.
Yeah. Okay.
And they could look a lot better, those people, if they tried to do less,
Mm,
and maybe get better at doing stuff that they can do and just inching forward. But, ego is one, and people don't want to be out there trying to keep up with the Joneses on a horse that's not up for it. So they get despondent. And I've seen people try and buy their way out of trouble with that too, and they've gone through half a dozen horses and
yeah.
issues
No.
each time. So
Yep.
that's one.
Yep. Ego.
Old age and pain.
Yes.
That's another one that you work with people and everything's a struggle because they're not fit enough to do it,
Yeah.
and it mightn't be their fault that they're not fit enough. I know as I get older, some things become harder.
Mm.
So that's another one that, what else? Something else come up that is more interesting to them than the horses. So another
Yeah.
interest or a new
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
and they might still love doing the horses, but instead of giving it 5 days a week, they can only give it 1 day a fortnight.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go as well because the horse is always fresh and they're not riding fit like they would be if they're doing it 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's a bunch of things really, life in general. Like I know people that are unfortunate enough to, one of the kids has had an accident and needs full-time care or something like that happens in their life. So that some things have got to go on the back burner there. Some people fear.
Yes.
And I've seen people, female people, who were fearless eventers and they have one baby
Yes.
and then they break into tears when their horse accidentally trots. That's an inbuilt, I'm convinced of this, an inbuilt self-preservation mechanism.
Absolutely.
And your body says, kids need me, I need to be safe, I need to be.
Yeah. Don't be doing the dangerous stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Back away.
And that can be quite extreme with some people, and then other people it doesn't seem to affect. But that can be another one. And the economy, just the cost of living. Horses are not cheap to keep.
Yeah.
All the accessories that go along with them.
The maintenance of them,
money.
feet and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of consumables with horses, like shoes and getting their teeth done.
Yeah.
It's not like you've just got to buy it once.
No. It keeps,
and then if you're
going.
or something like that, you're just putting your hand in your pocket all the time. So,
can I ask you, can I dive into one that I think is probably the trickiest one that I deal with? What's your recommendation to those older riders that are a little bit older? What advice? How can they still enjoy their horsing life? Should they hang up their riding helmets and boots, or is there a particular situation or horse or whatever they can carry on with? What's your recommendation for that?
well, I'm an older rider, and I don't ride the same as I did when I was 25. I get a lot of enjoyment out of teaching a horse at a slow pace, at a walk, or there's so much stuff you can teach a horse at a walk. And I mean good stuff that makes them soft and responsive. And, some things are easier to get at a trot or a canter because the horse's feet are really moving, but your horse is dull at a walk. If you can get them not dull at a walk, then you're making good horses. But there's stuff you can do that's not overly physical. The other one for me, I don't get off a horse tired. I could have
Yeah.
5 years off and get on a horse and I wouldn't get off tired
Yeah.
because I'm not pushing and leaning and I don't use my legs a lot.
Yeah. So you train in a certain way.
Really easy just to
Yeah.
change your balance a touch.
Yeah.
And if you can get a response doing that, then that's all you need to do. To get that, you've got to have a horse that keeps its feet moving. If you've got a pedal to keep them moving, and I think people make a mistake of maybe making a horse too quiet.
Too unresponsive. It's exhausting to ride.
Yeah, they're no fun. So I'd rather sit on a horse that likes to move.
What about the type of horse? Do you have like a recommendation? Like probably not going and buying the athletic young horse that's 17 hands tall might not necessarily be a good idea. Or do you have any kind of recommendation of is there a suitable horse, that people should be looking for?
I think what you've got to do is make an analogy.
Yeah, go for it. You're good.
Okay, so think about your horse as a motor car. Now, are you able to, or do you want to drive a Maserati, or are you only good for driving a family sedan?
Yeah, I'm going to go the Toyota Corolla.
Now, if you want to relax and just go from point A to point B, or ride with your friends, and you don't want to ride every day, and you don't want to have to train yourself to be a really, really good rider.
Yeah.
You don't want the Maserati.
Yeah.
And people make that mistake all the time. I guess the other one they do is they say, well, I bought that horse. It was the first one I looked at, but I just had this connection straight away.
It's always a good one.
You hear that a lot.
Fraught with danger, that one.
Well, and the problem is that sometimes it works out.
Yeah.
And that's fine and congratulations, but a lot of times it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing people have got to do is be really honest about where they're at. So if you're feeling a bit old, I knew a magnificent horseman once. This was years and years ago. This guy could ride, and he used to pick up at rodeos, and he was a good horse trainer. And, bold, and he got older. And he said, Ian, I got this horse here. He said, do you want it? And I said, why? He said, oh, there's nothing wrong with it, he said, but it's so athletic that I just can't sit on it anymore. And I don't want to get dumped just because my horse was athletic and quick. So he come to that decision. It probably hurt his pride a bit to do that too.
Yeah.
He was a good horseman. So I think that's, a consideration we've all got to come to. And the problem is if you're used to riding really good horses, and you start to get a bit old and you think, now, can I manage that anymore?
Yeah.
You can always ride a really good horse, but getting that horse to that point, if it's a Maserati, it might be a bit tricky. So you've got to work out, can I handle that anymore?
And just the extent of training and riding it needs to be a good, well-controlled Maserati, if you really just want to go for a hack out in the bush or down in the trails and you want to do that once a week, that's a special horse out there that can just do that once a week and be okay with that. That's not a Maserati.
No, that's an 18-year-old horse that's done 1,000,000 miles and happy in the paddock for 6 months at a time. But if you want to go for a ride with your friends, just throw the saddle on and go. Take a lot of making a horse like that.
They do. And the time's got to be put into making them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I always meet people and they just go, Charlotte, I just don't have time to do all the training. I don't have time. I get this much, I've only got this much time to do because I've got this busy life. I don't have time to do all this training. I don't find that fun of having to continually, worry about doing this and do that. And I said, I've also got to set them free. And it's like, well, go find the horse that you can do that on because I enjoy training, right? That's That's
Yeah.
my jam. Give me something that's a little bit that needs a bit of help, and I love that. I love unpicking them. It's like a bit of an
Yeah.
obsession, or training a young horse and doing all that. That's what I enjoy, the training.
Yeah.
And I know not everyone's like me, and I said you don't have to be like me, but it's like I
No.
give them permission. It's just like, go find this lovely horse a home with someone that will enjoy doing that, and you go find yourself a horse that
Yeah.
is really solid and doesn't need that as much. I think every horse needs a bit of ability to tweak it. That's only fair to it, but
Yeah.
not the amount that some individual horses need. Yeah.
I think you're 100% right there.
Mm.
I would add to that, and this is probably me getting older. I think too many people train too much,
Yeah.
and they don't just ride their horse.
Yes.
Um,
That's a really good point.
you know, and horses get sick of being trained on all the time. It seems to be a thing, like, since videos and techniques for this and techniques for that, and like I couldn't remember the last time I wielded the hind end on one of my own horses.
Yeah. Well,
I just ride them.
yeah. Well, this is
know,
what I find,
and
because I teach it, right? Because I teach
yeah,
it, I'm always having to like shape people and say, look, we're doing this to get a particular outcome and then maintain it.
yeah,
If you're still doing these preliminary things after a couple of weeks, there's a
yeah,
problem. You're actually, it's a process to get through, so you don't need that, or you only go backwards for very specific reasons. To say you've had a long break, horse hasn't been worked for a long period of time, or horse isn't feeling right. Well, then you get off and do a little bit of groundwork. But your aim of doing groundwork is so you don't have to do groundwork.
You probably should do it before you get on, and read the horse enough that you don't get on till it's sort of ready. But
That's right.
even groundwork for me. So here's the thing. People come to a clinic and they expect to have a horse running around in circles and doing all the fantastic stuff. Most of my groundwork is go when I go, stop when I stop, back up when I back up.
Yeah.
If I can pull your head down and make you feel a little bit trapped and you can still walk around me and relax, you're going to have a fair bet that you'll be able to do that when I'm on you.
Yeah.
And I don't do a lot of what I used to do with groundwork. I've just got it down to
You've narrowed
even
it down.
more basic stuff, but it keeps a horse in a better frame of mind, and that's not all work. So that's one thing that's really evolved with me. And the other thing is, instead of saying, okay, your horse is falling out when you go around the corner, and people say, well, we've got an exercise for that, or you need more leg, inside leg to outside rein, or vice versa, or, and I say to people, okay, we're going to come down to that corner now, and if your horse is falling in, I want you to just sit a little bit more on your left butt cheek and keep your right shoulder up and maybe look to the outside of the arena just a little bit. And it doesn't fall in anymore.
Yeah.
So instead of making it about the horse,
it's badass. Yeah.
Try and improve people's riding so that, I couldn't count the amount of horses I get on and people say, he does this, he does that, he's got this problem, he's got that problem.
Yeah.
And I'll ride it for an hour and none of those things will come up.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, yeah, but he's just having a good day.
Don't you love that?
Sort of takes the wind out of your sails a bit. And I don't like things to get bad before they get better, just so that I can show the difference. I've always tried to avoid that.
Yeah.
For the horse, really.
A good exercise that I do, so I'm just going to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's cool because it's along the lines exactly. Then you're going to carry on saying what you can. So don't lose your thought, okay? I'll actually measure out an accurate 20-meter circle with a damn tape measure, right? I measure it out.
Yeah.
And I'll put at every tangent point in the circle, I'll put 2 cones quite close together. And I
Yep.
get people to ride it, right? And I get them to what they feel, and they're complaining, the horse is falling out here, horse is falling out there, and they want to fix it. Okay, we're going to go around again. The only thing you're allowed to fix is yourself.
Yeah.
You have to play around with yourself. And only when you've declared, I want you to make sure you can feel both your seat bones. I want you to make sure, anyway, we'll go through it. And only then can we actually consider the horse. And it's amazing how fixing yourself has a major impact on how those horse goes around those cones. Now, you carried away with what you were going to say after I interrupted you.
Oh, we'll go on with the circles. So
Yeah.
I teach people to ride like a hexagon or an octagon rather than ride a circle.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, it's correct to have your horse bent round the circumference of the circle.
Yeah.
If you, next time you draw that 20-metre circle out, measure out the length of a horse on the circumference and see just how little amount of bend that is, like it's barely noticeable.
Yeah.
And that when people ride it, they got their horse bent round like.
Yes.
And I don't think that does much for your horse's longevity.
No.
If you do a lot of that, like you don't see your horses getting around the paddock, loading up one side and, you know.
You got to use your circles wisely because they do wear a horse out in time.
But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with circles, but they've got 2 back legs and they should be using both of them to pick their shoulders up and to get in a frame. And if you look at the old classical riders and talk to them, they spent more time teaching people to keep their horse straight than they did bending it.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. So a horse that's overbent can't pick its shoulders up and lighten the front end like a horse that's straight can.
Yeah. Actually, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Can I ask you another question? I got asked a question the other day that that someone wanted explaining. So I'm going to ask you. You're going to do the research because I know you're going to give me the good answer. So you got dressage people, English people, and you got Western style people. And I know you kind of sit in the middle being stock, like more of a stockman type thing in the middle. It's all about, so dressage goes on about, creating the posture and, getting the shoulders up and horse over the back and all this type of stuff. Well, they asked, well, how do you do that if you don't do dressage? What's your response to that?
My response is that I like classical riders.
Yeah.
Now, if you watch really, really good ranch riders from the States.
Yeah.
And if you watch the really, really good Spanish riders, whether in working equitation or, which has got a fairly big dressage component.
Yep.
Or even the bullfighters, you don't see those bullfighters reaching out to one side and dragging their horse off balance, trying to take it from, because a bull would kill them if they didn't let their horses be balanced. Now, doesn't matter what you think of bullfighting. I think the horses are pretty nifty. But I like classical riding, so I want my horse to go in that fashion. And the old military riders from England and from France, if you watch Olympic videos from the 1950s, they don't look like they do nowadays, but they were classical riders that went to the Olympics and did dressage. And I think modern dressage so far from classical riding, it's not funny. But it really doesn't matter what sort of clothes you wear. A good classical horseman is a good classical horseman. And, it's got nothing to do with the saddle, the costume, whatever. And even the equipment that you use, I think people get caught up in that. When you watch those horses go in that fashion, it really doesn't matter what the person's trying to achieve. It's a classical horse, and that's what I try and get.
I think she was also getting on about how dressage have a contact with the horse. So they've got, to say, taunt reins. Okay, the horse is into the bridle, whereas a Western horse might be in a, a different bit, or a ported mouth bit, etc. So there's not the contact. And I try to explain to her, yeah, but there's many ways you can teach a horse to develop a posture without going through the reins.
Okay, here's the thing. The dressage horse should go on a loose rein,
Yes.
and I won't talk about reining or anything specific like that. But ranch horses, if you're going to rope something, you want to be able to gather those reins up and keep that horse in your hand.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as a dressage horse.
Yeah.
So that you might have to move that shoulder over half a step and have the horse move forward off your seat or stop or pivot. And you want that horse to do that. Like, those guys don't ride their horse on a big floppy rein all the time.
No.
They're going to rope. They pick that horse up and they get it ready to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's that, so that, and there's really no difference in it. But in saying that, I don't like seeing horses go around where you can play guitar notes on the reins.
Yeah, and
that's not proper contact.
No.
And I've seen people who have their horses like that, and then they talk about self-carriage, but I'd like my horse to go like that. And when I let my reins go, my horse stays like that. If I change my seat, I want my horse to stretch out and put his head down. Or
I think people always take things to the extreme. They don't see that it's just part of the process. Like, just say, I'll do some loose rein work, but it's not for very long. It's days, and then I'm getting to the point where then I pick them up. It's like working on one thing at a time. But if you just, getting people to pick their reins up a bit because of, number one, being able to just move your hand a bit instead of having to move your hand a lot to make an effect is a good thing. So having reins too long is no good. But also,
the horse gives the horse opportunity just to move his head around. And
that's right. There's this big slack in the rein. And the next thing is that I want to, like, part of the whole riding thing is getting the horse to learn about a good posture. And it's just not going around and feeling good that it's got no pressure on its mouth, or it's bitless, or it's just been ridden in a halter, and it's going around with a terrible posture that's just going to make it break down quicker. So it's understanding there's a training process, but your aim is the outcome of what you want to do. And you want to try to get to that outcome as quick as possible, because all those things, when they're just bitsy and there's just pieces that you're adding, is not ideal.
Yeah.
Part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not ideal. Yeah.
But I think too that these different sports have all got something to learn from each other. It's funny. I see horses, like, I see dressage trainers nowadays doing stuff that you only ever saw people on reiners do once. And then you see people with reiners doing shoulder in and doing stuff that people only ever did on dressage horses once.
Yep.
And I think people are learning that there's benefits in both sides of those things.
Oh, for sure.
A bit like politics, or somewhere really comfortable in the middle.
Somewhere, being able to look what can be helpful. Yeah, I got a whole long list. Like, I always go to my endurance riders. Endurance riders are great with things like girths and hoofs and fitness. They're really good with stuff like that. They're really handy with stuff like that. I find my cutters are great when it comes to things like focus. Like training focus and attention. Reiners are really good with getting horses kind of really following along with you quite well, and doing that. Dressage initiative, I remember I threw it in the bin with disgust once, and then I picked it out because I realized, actually this has got something to add, not necessarily the bad stuff, but the stuff when you want to develop a horse's body. It's like Pilates, it's like yoga. So every sport, the cow sports, the jump sports,
Yep.
everything. Nothing gets a horse more kind of a good idea about traveling forward than chasing a cow or jumping over something and getting a horse
Absolutely.
forward thinking. Every sport has its gold in it, and and trying to pit one against the other, or it's like, man, they've all got. Well, like for an instance, research came out the other day saying that horses don't necessarily bond to people like dogs do, because they repeated an experiment with dogs with horses, and after doing, I think, a small case study of 12, they concluded from this case study that horses don't bond like dogs. And one of my endurance friends piped up, like she sent it to me, and she says, I don't think these people have understood, so, like whether it be an endurance rider that has to be hours and hours and hours with their horse, or maybe, someone that does a lot of cattle work and mustering and stuff like that, that just don't have these, you know, every day they might spend 45 minutes with a person, but these people that work with their horses or do a lot of work day in, day out do
Yep.
form different relationships.
You do. It's funny, like getting back to dogs, you see a lot of guys with working dogs.
Mm.
And those dogs are really obedient and they love their job and they love
Yeah.
being with the guy, but they're not pets.
No, they're
So
working.
when that guy's got to do some fencing or something, that dog's not under his feet. It's sitting 30 feet away waiting for him to tell it to do something, or it's just having a rest. And you can have a relationship that's like that, where it's not, you can be mates, but you don't have to be on top of each other in each other's pockets.
Yeah.
Similar to maybe workmates.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree.
So I know there's a lot of guys I've worked with over the years that I respect and I like, and some of them I talk to every month, and some of them we're still mates and we haven't spoken to each other for 5 years.
Yeah.
And you can have a good relationship that's like that, rather than they've really got to love me and it's
sit next to me on the lounge.
People are going to be getting pats and it's really hard to go and do a day's work with a horse that's like that. You get off and you're trying to undo one of those cocky gates and it's difficult and awkward, and you don't want a horse that's on top of you. You want a horse that will sort of hang back about 5 or 6 feet and just go with the flow. And you might have to tuck a rein into your belt or something to get the job done, so you've got 2 hands and not have that horse pull away or piss off. But there are different types of relationships.
And I think people also have different experience of horses they've met, and I think having the opportunities to ride a horse like that, or be able to ride someone's horse that they've created like that, is a pretty of an incredible experience. And I remember the first time I did it, it was so different sitting on a horse that you could tell that the horse was going, because I wasn't 100% the same as the usual rider.
Yeah.
You could feel the horse going, you want this? You want this?
Yep.
Like they were offering me what they thought. Whereas usually, like up to that stage, I'd sat on a horse and the horse was like, and you're going, horse do this, horse do that, horse do that.
Yep.
And it was weird feeling it come back the other way at you. And that had been years in the making. You could feel it coming back, and and I just wish everyone could feel this.
When you sit on a horse for 6 or 8 hours a day, you do get to know each other pretty well. Even draft horses. So I did a little stint. I had a tourist wagon, and I used to take tourists around this town. And I'd get people on there and I'd say, oh, who wants to start them off? And they'd be clucking, get up, kissing him. And anyway, the horses wouldn't even wake up. And I'd go like that and they'd head off at a trot.
Yeah, wow.
And
How cool.
And I didn't teach them that.
Yeah.
They just knew who to listen to, and they knew it was me.
Yeah. How
And
cool's that?
you learn quite amazing stuff when you spend a lot of time with the same horses. I don't get that opportunity as much as I used to, but I jumped on mine the other day, and I'm thinking, I don't know why I don't ride him more often. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
I've had a few over the years, and they got old and gone, and
yeah.
I always think I should have ridden you more often, but I'm always riding someone else's horses, so hard
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, it is. Oh, Ian, it's been so fabulous to talk to you. Gosh, I've kept you for a long time.
Yeah.
I
No, that's
feel
all
very
right. I've
blessed.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love chatting to you. Now, can you tell us your clinics, what you're doing this year, where you're up next? Where can people find
Okay,
out
the
about it?
first few, and these are all on our website, of course.
Yeah, Ian
Um,
Leighton, horsemanship.com.au.
.com, no AU,
Just
just
.com.
.com. Yeah, we're
Yep.
global. Um,
See the show notes, guys. I've got it in the show notes.
Thank you. Um, yeah, so I've got to go to Sydney first and at Yarramundi,
Hmm.
and the builder, it's been there probably 12 months now, a bit longer, but they built this fabulous trail horse setup,
Cool.
with
Yeah.
different obstacles, and
Yeah.
we've got a 4-day clinic there, so we're looking
Oh,
forward to
wow.
that one. That's in March,
Yep.
around the 13th, 14th of March or something.
Mm. Yep.
That's a 4-day clinic, so we're
Yeah.
gonna do a couple of days of horsemanship and a couple of days of obstacles, and just sort of mix it all up.
Yeah. What an experience. 4 days and get so much
Yeah,
out of that.
I think it'd be good, and we'll be able to work on some of that stuff we spoke about earlier in the podcast.
Yes.
For horses
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
don't want to go forward and don't want to
Yeah.
go, and how to deal with it,
How to navigate it.
But what you won't learn is some trick that's going to make your horse that's frightened of something all of a sudden say, yes, I'll do it. But you'll learn how to progress the horse
Yeah.
and get through it. And it's amazing how quickly you can achieve stuff if you work that way, rather than we've got to have a trick and it's got to nail it down now. That doesn't tend to work out very often.
Yeah.
And then down to another favourite, which is 2 clinics at Bean End, one after the other at How Long.
Yep.
And I really enjoy going there, and they're catered clinics, and most people stay, and
Yeah.
and there's river flats, and if it's still warm enough, we'll swim the horses, and
Oh, beaut. That would be good fun.
4 days.
Another
Some people
4-dayer.
do both
Yep.
clinics, so
Yeah.
they do a 4-day clinic and have 1 day off, and then do another 4-day clinic, and
Yeah. Oh, that's beaut.
so some of them stay right through.
That'd be life changing for a lot of people, I bet.
It is. I wish I could spend 4 days with my horse, or 8. But that's a big deal. Like, how many people get that opportunity?
Yeah.
Just focus on them and their horse, and we're not training on them flat out where they're going to get sour or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of riding. It can be life changing for people. I think I've never sort of advertised it as that. As far as their horsemanship goes, just the fact that they're doing that much of it will improve. And,
Yeah. So, are you going to be heading up to all states? You got all states booked in for next
Which
year?
one?
All states of Australia?
I'm not really at this stage. We need to organise something in Western Australia. I neglected them last year. I've been trying to cut back. Last year, I had one stint I was away from home for nearly 10 weeks.
Wow.
On a trip. And, I did a lot and I enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
I sort of got used to being at home a bit over COVID,
Yes.
and I always try and stay home over fire season, so like now Christmas, and get that out of the way. And
Yeah.
so, I'm painting the house It's
Yeah.
penance for not working too much. And I still just about every day I work with
Yeah.
someone down here.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah. We've always got your
two or three.
local people. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I don't tend to run too many clinics down here anymore. And but there's always people that want help.
Yeah.
They either come to me or I go to them. Or
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. So if people are interested, they'll check out the calendar and keep an eye out.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
with the clinics there. But yeah, absolutely, people recommend, and if they can get along to an Ian Leighton clinic, I think they should. You'll get a lot
Yep.
out of it, especially those 4 days. That sounds really awesome, especially the trail ones. Wow,
I enjoy 4-day clinics
yeah,
because you just can achieve so much
yeah,
in 4 days. And, a 2-day clinic or even a 1-day clinic, it's sort of an introduction to it.
yeah.
But you can actually nail a bit of stuff down in 4 days.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And
No,
I find that I enjoy that better.
yeah, no, that's a really good opportunity. Well, I think actually people should check out your website, ianleightonhorsemanship.com,
Yep.
and also make sure they follow you on Facebook for those very lovely, beautiful, short, to the point, little bit blunt, little bit real, heaps of logic when it comes to wisdom about horses. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Ian. We'll say goodbye to everyone from the pod, and then we'll stick around so I can say goodbye to you properly.